thought it was a useful way, particularly we wanted to kind of calculate what is our investment and our impact on the UK economy. Everybody knows Ryanair, everybody's heard of Ryanair, but most people don't appreciate the size and scale of our investment in the UK. We think we're now one of the biggest, if not the biggest, one of the biggest overseas investors in the UK. We've 115 aircraft based here across over 20 UK airports. That's an investment of over $10 billion inwards in the UK economy, and we're supporting about 98,000 jobs across over 20 UK airports.
Are you feeling a little underappreciated by UK policymakers?
Well, I mean, I think all airlines are underappreciated by policymakers. We continue to have this ridiculous APD tax on travel to and from an island on the periphery of Europe. We think there would be much more growth available, particularly in the regions of the UK, if they scrapped APD. We're hopeful that a new incoming Labour government will do that. The Tories have failed miserably over the last 5 or 10 years, despite promising to look at it. And I think we have a more positive message. We think we can grow our traffic from 53 million passengers a year to 65 million passengers over the next 5 years to and from the UK. That would be the equivalent of Ryanair carrying every single member of the entire UK population to and from the UK every year. And that growth will take place largely at regional airports, Manchester, Birmingham, Glasgow, Edinburgh, Belfast, if they just scrap this ridiculous and penal tax on air travel.
Is this increasing capacity going to come from putting on new routes or adding extra capacity to existing ones?
Well, firstly, it will come from our new aircraft orders, Ian. We've ordered about 400 new aircraft from Boeing, which we take delivery of over the next decade. We think we could pivot at least 20 or 30 of those new aircraft here into the UK, and then opening new routes at existing airports. We have opened one new base this winter in Belfast, but we're now operating at almost all the UK significant airports. But we still think we can link up, put in a lot of new routes to Italy, to Spain, to Portugal, to Greece, to Central and Eastern European destinations, where there's a lot of interest still in inbound UK and in coming to visit the UK.
You mentioned APD just now. You've obviously benefited from the fact that it was halved on domestic routes inside the UK. What kind of assumptions are you making on APD when you're making these kind of growth projections?
Well, I mean, sadly, the growth projection to 65 million passengers by 2030 is on the basis of no scrapping of APD. But the point we're making to governments, if you scrap APD sooner than that, we will get there much faster. The other point we've made to them is, fine, if you don't want to scrap APD, keep it maybe on the London airports, but scrap it on the regional airports. So you can kind of, they talk about lifting up the red wall or lifting up the regions. The best way to do that would be to scrap APD on flights to and from all the regional airports, and that again would accelerate that growth. We could get to 65 million passengers to and from the UK by 2027 or 2028. We can accelerate the growth because we have the aircraft deliveries. What we need is the UK government to play its part by reducing this unfair tax on passengers and citizens travelling between the UK and Europe.
You mentioned Boeing just now. Obviously, you've had to rejig some of your summer schedules because they're not delivering new aircraft to you as rapidly as we thought they would. What's the latest on that?
We're beginning to see green shoots of progress, I think. I've spoken with Stephanie Pope, the new CEO in Seattle. We're scheduled to get 4 aircraft in March. We got them 4 aircraft in April. We're getting them. The 5 aircraft in May have, for the first time in 2 years, been moving forward a week or two, which is the first time for 3 years we've seen Boeing improve a delivery date. So I think she's starting to get her hands around the issues. Certainly, we're seeing better quality. No fuselage are being moved from Wichita to Seattle with any defects. So I think the situation is improving. It won't improve enough to get us 57 aircraft for this summer. But if we get 35 or 40 aircraft, that's enough to allow us to grow Ryanair from 183 million passengers last year to 200 million passengers this year. And I hope we're getting to the end of these production problems with Boeing.
Now, separately, we learned yesterday you've launched a lawsuit against NATS following the problems last August. What sort of remedies are you looking for here?
We want to recover the costs and the right to care costs, our compensation payments, which amount to about £15 million. When things go wrong in the airline industry, we have to compensate our passengers, and yet we want to recover those costs directly from NATS. We continue to call for the CEO of NATS, Martin Rolfe, to either step down or be dismissed. We think he's demonstrated he's incapable of running an efficient ATC service. UK, we're the same size in the UK as we are in Italy. Last year in the UK, 7,000 Ryanair flights were delayed because of either NATS short staffing or system failures. Only 170 flights in Italy were affected by NATS delays. So, it's a terrible service that NATS is providing. We pay them over £100 million a year in ATC fees, and we're entitled to expect a better service.